Oh, look at that.
I learned I need a new gun, so here it is.
That's it. We're
Yeah.
recording a podcast now. It's going to be fantastic.
We on now?
We're totally on now. Are you ready?
Oh. So that was world shoot level stage?
Oh, don't say that. We're on a podcast.
Yeah, the stage though. I'm not talking.
I don't know about any of that.
Okay.
Wasn't there? I wouldn't know, and I don't think the other person would either. Um, uh, welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. My name's Ben. Here to answer your shooting questions. On deck today, we got a South Korean pro gamer guy.
Hello.
He's a spy.
We got a hillbilly.
Which one is that?
No.
Oh, yeah,
on,
that's
that's
like a
obvious.
question.
I'm playing Smite
It's
right
obvious. And we have a redneck.
Guess that leaves me.
I guess I'm the hillbilly.
And we have, well, what would I be? A cheesehead?
Canadian.
Honorary Canadian.
Yeah.
Whoever's
We don't-
fucking around with a gun or whatever, please stop. All right.
It's Nick. It's always
It is
Nick.
Nick. He's fucking around with his new gun. I need a new gun. Your gun was
Hey,
your gun was
I don't have the
becoming
questions.
problematic, wasn't it? Oh, you don't have the
No,
questions.
no. Let's do it blind. This would be good.
Okay, we're
Because
gonna
I'll
do it.
only get half of the question.
We're gonna all do it blind.
Okay.
All of us will be blind. Everyone. Hey Ben,
He's probably.
greetings from Guam. I have a question about shooting carry optic style red dot pistols. So Hansik is probably the main guy to ask. But I'd be interested in all of your thoughts. A guy I know is convinced. Convinced, I say. Yeah, I'm adding the emphasis there. You need to grip a carry optics gun harder than you would need to grip an irons gun in order to shoot it as fast. I'm not so sure about this, but I can see where he's coming from. A dot can amplify the gun's movement, especially as it jumps around a recoil. But I think as long as you hold the gun the right way, i.e. with a good grip and focus that makes the gun track well, no extra gripping force should be needed on a carry optics gun than an irons gun. I have a feeling focus plays a big part in how you perceive recoil on a carry optics gun, with no compensator that'll make the gun track easier like an open gun. My only experience with the carry optics type setup is shooting a few hundred rounds through my Beretta with a dorky dovetail mounted red dot. So what the fuck do I know? What do you guys think? Well, let's go to the South Korean programmer guy, Hansik. What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, my optic delta point is about 2 ounces. So it's adding a little bit of weight on the slide. So it can affect in theory, but my personal opinion is that it doesn't affect at all. And interestingly, when I first shot carry optics or red dot gun, so I shoot the same platform. I shoot PPQ, both production and carry optics. Interestingly, I had to loosen up my grip tension a little bit because when I first bring up the red dot gun, it was shaking too much. So at like 30-yard shot, it was a little bit hard to keep it on the A zone. So I actually had to loosen it up and like loosen the tension, not necessarily gripping less. The grip tension is probably the same, but my arm was tensing up a little bit. So in terms of that, I had to actually loosen it up a little. And then I don't grip hard when I shoot carry optics or harder when I shoot production. It's the same grip pressure, same grip technique for both divisions.
Do you think it was actually shaking more, or you can just see the shake easier with a dot?
That's the thing, I think.
Yeah. So when I shot the iron sight for the whole time, I was gripping really hard because of the controlling recoil, but I couldn't see the front sight shaking. I mean, if I grip too hard and my arms shake, then I see the front sight shake, but I didn't see that detail of the movement. But when I shot red dot, I was like, oh, I'm gripping too tense. So
all of us would say that this is a perception issue.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah, so what I would suspect is going on is this guy's shooting a dot gun. He's like, oh, wow, the gun's moving a lot. Wow. And then he just doesn't perceive it as much shooting irons. And he's like, oh, you just have to grip it harder shooting carry optics. It's not really the right answer. I think most guys come at it the other way where they're like, the dot is showing you what's happening. You perceive everything so well, and then that's where you want to improve, make a movement on your skill.
Yeah.
Like learn to grip the gun properly, all that stuff.
Yes, I personally think same things are happening, but red dot's telling you more.
Yeah, well, it's more like hitting you in the face with it, It's like harder to miss. Is that fair to say?
It's
That too.
easier to harder
Yeah.
to miss or easier to see.
You can see everything with irons. It's just
I don't think you can as good.
you can't as easily, but you can see it.
Yes.
If you choose to pay attention, you will see. It's just, it's hard. All right. Man, I feel like we've beaten this one to death. But what do you think about tools like laser ammo, eye dry fire, cool fire, and so on? Will it help to use this for training? I'd say broadly, no, it will not help you to have that in training. I think those tools are interesting, but it's kind of something that you do to fuck around. It's not like it will not, in an objectively measurable way, I don't think it's going to help you. What do you think, Hopkins?
Doesn't seem to make sense to me compared to dry fire.
No, it's not. It's maybe if you're bored with regular dry fire, right?
You think that would actually help or be a detriment?
It's not going to be a detriment. It's just,
You sure?
maybe if you're looking for laser strikes on the wall, things like that, that's not going to be helpful at all. But that could be detrimental. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I think everything on the market that I've seen so far, I don't think I would be inclined to use on a regular basis. I even tried the dry fire gun, like the like the air gun.
Airsoft?
Briefly, yeah, and it's the balance of the gun is totally different. The trigger pull is different. The sights are different. It just everything is different. And
I got an airsoft shadow and noticed the same thing. It's good to shoot at like employees and coworkers and stuff like that, but that's it.
Damn, just like that?
Yeah.
You
I can
shoot your
think of
coworkers?
a system where it might be cool to use on a regular basis if you had like a laser cartridge that was an invisible laser, so it's not drawing your eyes to the target all the time, and you had a target that could that looked realistic and could pick up a hit and show you where it was later. Maybe then it would be cool to use sometimes.
I think it's
Like an after effect?
Yeah.
the
That'd be kinda
thing.
neat.
The thing for me with stuff like that is like it's been a while, or it is very infrequent that I even have a question about what I was doing during dry fire, like where my gun hit. Like it's just not normal that I'm like not sure about where my sights were at. What, for better or worse, I usually know what's going on. And then for other people, usually the stuff that I observe, like students doing or guys doing, when it comes to dry firing wrong, it's usually stuff that's multi-shot drills anyway, and that's stuff that generally speaking these things suck at. Like the cartridges that let you do one laser shot, like that's not really going to help you if you're having problems transitioning too early on a multi-shot drill or something like that. It's not going to help.
And that's the other huge limitation.
Yeah,
of
it's
any
like
laser cartridge.
yeah, just it's not showing what people commonly do wrong anyway.
Unless you're shooting a true double action on the gun, you're never gonna
Yeah.
get multiple shots in a laser string.
Yeah, and people who shoot revolvers, well, strange.
Say about them.
All right, at what range and difficulty do you confirm your sight picture on target transitions versus seeing the outline of the gun coming in and knowing it's going to stop in the A zone? I'm not sure I agree with the way the question is premised. At what range difficulty do you confirm your sight picture on a target versus seeing the outline of the gun? So I'm not really clear exactly what he's asking here. What do you
Isn't
think?
the first part of that like what you do at the end of a shot, not coming into a target?
Well, for me, it's kind of like usually I'll just look, and if I see the gun, not just the outline of the gun, but if I see the fiber and shit, like the blurry bumps of the sights in the center of the target, like shooting pure target focus and just seeing the sights peripherally, that's the way I'll do one way, but then like confirming the sight picture, like switching onto a front sight focal depth is not something you do a ton. It's usually on longer pieces of steel or high risk targets, things like that. I'm not sure. I think that's what he's asking. Does that sound about right to you guys?
Well, does it have anything to do with a transition period?
At what distance difficulty do you confirm your sight picture on target transitions versus seeing the outline of the gun coming into the target?
Yeah, and I'm saying does your answer actually hinge on whether you're doing a transition or not?
It does, actually, it does. So, like, let me give you an example scenario. Let's say you got a no shoot on either side of an A zone, like butted right up against the center of the A zone. I would treat that differently transitioning onto it and off of it, depending on, a few other factors, than I would just drawing and shooting it. So let me give you an example. Let's say the target's at 3 yards and it's a really wide transition on and off. And I'm shooting this, no shoot on either side of the A zone, tight no shoots, but it's not a hard shot. But it's wide transitions on and off, and the shot's easy enough that I really want to go fast on it. So I'll be really confirming the shit out of that shot. Does that make sense to you? Nick? Try and envision it.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of want to make sure if you got no shoot on either side, your gun is, fully stopped.
Exactly. So I'll confirm that, okay, the gun is definitely stopped and I can shoot this thing.
A zone border lines or whatever to where, a C is a no shoot.
Yeah, but in a weird way, I might confirm it less if I'm just drawing onto the target and shooting just that target. Because I'm not concerned about, pulling the gun off early.
Just maybe you have more confidence in drawing to the right spot than you do stopping the gun after a wide transition.
Yeah, that could be. You got thoughts on this, Korean guy?
I think the number 3 yard is my rule of thumb.
What do you mean?
Of course, like just not really confirming the front sight. 3 yard, I don't want to confirm my front sight almost at all. Yeah, and also heat factor may affect a little bit too. So if it's a low heat factor and a high heat factor kind of thing. Yeah, I think you spoke really well about this one.
Right? Exactly. So the answer for me would be like, it depends. It depends on some things. But generally, if it's a shot that I'm going to switch on to front sight focus, that's where I'm really confirming the sight picture. And that there might be some weird circumstances as far as, transition related, whereas you want to really make sure the gun's stopped, where I'd say like, hey, plus up the sight picture, like confirm that one, because it's one you might fuck up. Another good example would be like, I don't know, a 10-yard head box. Like transitioning onto that, I'll switch on to a front sight focus, and then I'll be thinking, okay, make sure the front sight comes back down for the second shot on the head. And the rule is I want to see brown all the way around the front sight, and then pull the trigger again. That'd be just me. But this stuff is learned through training and experience on a lot of different scenarios. And then I kind of live in fear of shooting mics because I really don't like to do that. It annoys me.
I know the feeling.
Oh, and one situation I usually just shoot with the outline of the gun is when there's a target right beneath the port. So you're basically aiming down towards the ground kind of shot. Those kind of targets are usually really close. So it's like right in front of you, but it's lower. So you're not shooting straight, but your gun and your arm, your body will be pointing all the way down. In that case, it's so close. Any targets like that, even if it's partial up a little bit, like half zone, A zone, I usually just point shoot on those kind of things.
Yeah, I think you just learn over time. Like for me, for my training, I set up different scenarios almost always. I don't like to measure stuff out a lot. I just set up, as much different shit as I can. And then I learn where I'm having problems, and then I learn to kind of like be cautious in certain spots, So it's like, I think it's I think the answers are a little bit different for different people, but you just learn where you need to be really cautious. And you're like, on that stuff, it's like, oh, okay, like confirm the sight picture on this one because I want to be careful here. And then back to full throttle on everything else. I mean, that's a pretty normal situation for training, I think.
I just make a general comment on this kind of scenario.
Yes.
I see a lot of people that are overconfident in their ability to point shoot at close range on open targets.
Yeah.
And-
Whenever I say target focus, people just read that as, oh, quit aiming, just like, blah, 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 blah. That's what they think you mean when you say target focus. All right, go ahead, Nick. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I was just saying you just got this array of 4-yard targets wherever, at a low port at the end of the stage or whatever. You run up there, you host 6 shots, and then you got 2 Cs or 3 Cs or whatever. That's horrible. That's not a good result. If you'd have taken another probably less than 0.05 seconds on those 2 shots, you could have made them A's, but you didn't do that.
But hey,
So,
you could always shoot major.
yeah, it's just I don't know if a lot of people practice it or not, but you have to shoot A's in those kind of situations. So you still have to aim a little.
Most people do not practice it. In a weird way, people think like, hey, the faster they're shooting, the faster they're ripping splits, then the more C's they can shoot.
Yeah, and that's not going to be true on those closer arrays. You're just dropping 2 points if you're shooting ACs at all.
And yes, production, definitely. Okay, this question goes out to any one of the studs in the room. Is the sight radius between a 4-inch gun versus a 5-inch pistol really that big of a deal on stages? Or is that 5-inch pistol, typically heavier, and that's what makes the difference? So I think what this guy's asking is, and it'd be fair to say that all of us prefer the longer sight radius guns, generally. Between like 3-inch, 4-inch, 5-inch guns, most of us would take the 5-inch gun, shoot production with that, or shoot with that. Do you think it's the weight of the gun that's making the preference, or is it the radius of the sights?
Well, me personally, yesterday I went to the range, and then I shot 4-inch gun, 5-inch gun side by side, and then the
because
side picture.
you knew this question was coming, so I'm glad you did this.
No, I didn't.
Shut! Come on.
Of course, I know all the questions and all answers. Okay, so when I bring the gun up, I don't remember having any difference on the side picture. So dimension of the front sight and rear sight is actually the same for both guns. And then in terms of the side picture, I don't notice any difference. And I don't think that the radius of the front sight, rear sight relationship, I don't think that's what makes the accuracy better. I think it's just the barrel length. Barrel length, longer the barrel length, more spiral contacting, so bullet is accurate. In that manner, there's of course difference 5-inch, 4-inch, and also it'll produce higher power factor. So when I shoot my 5-inch gun, the power factor will be higher than shooting with the 4-inch. So I can potentially lower my load data. So that can make it softer, but I personally don't think the weight, unless there's like a lot of difference in 4-inch, 5-inch, I think generally it doesn't make any difference, even if it's a little bit heavier. That's my take on it. So it doesn't matter. The difference is accuracy, and you can potentially load it lighter. They can make the gun a little bit less flippy.
But, okay, it doesn't matter which do you prefer.
But I like 5-inch.
Yeah, of course you like 5-inch. More is better. Yeah. I will say this. I've got a couple 5-inch, I don't know what they are. They're like these Franken guns that Jim Bodkin made. Like these 5-inch Tanfoglio Limiteds, but they're double action. They have a 5-inch
Lim
sight
Pros?
radius. No, they're not Lim Pros. I don't think so. I think that the slides came off different guns. Like they're super weird. But the point is, it's a 5-inch gun of what I normally have, and the normal stock 2s are 4.5 inches. I actually prefer the 4.5-inch guns. I don't know why. It's like the 4.5-inch gun is so heavy to begin with. It's like the last thing the fucking thing needs to be is heavier. That's my opinion. I don't know. So like there's going to be some diminishing returns there, right? So like, would you shoot a 6-inch gun if it fit in the production box?
Would we?
Would you shoot a 6-inch gun personally?
I don't know.
Would you, Nick? Would you shoot a 6-inch gun if you could?
No, I don't think I would.
Not a stock 2. I wouldn't. The 6-inch, what is it? A Glock 17L, like the fucking long ones. Like that might be interesting if I was a Glock guy, because it's it's pretty light. Still can kind of maneuver it around.
Well,
The slide's going to be so heavy on that thing.
It's not that bad.
One thing I want to mention is on the internet, there are many people arguing about, especially with the scientific data.
Dude,
People
there's 2 things
bring
you
up-
can find on the internet. That's people arguing on any topic you care to mention and porn of anything you care to mention. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think for guns, scientific data could be important, but experience actually shooting it is more important, I think,
Then scientific data?
than scientific data.
God, you're so
Like
right.
numbers.
It's like if you read a Consumer Reports article about cars, like it'll have all these numbers and shit in there, and that doesn't really tell you as much as just going and driving the car. Like your sense of it is kind of, it tells you a lot more. Just my opinion. Well,
I've shot. Well,
Nick, go ahead.
yeah, well, I've shot enough guns that fit into all these categories, and I think that I don't think the sight radius itself is really a driving factor among any guns that we're going to be talking about shooting in this sport. I think it's more so the total weight and balance that are going to be, kind of subjective to you. What do you like in terms of that? So I think you just have to shoot them all. But I don't think the sight radius in terms of the distance between the sights is a driving force in like my accuracy, whether I'm shooting the 4.5-inch gun or the 5-inch gun.
So you'd also say it's the weight.
Yeah, the overall weight to me makes much more of a difference in how the gun handles. I mean, when you're going from one extreme to the other, like I went from an MP to a stock 2, it's a very noticeable difference. But even a smaller difference between like stock 2 and the limited, or the stock 2 and the limited pro,
You can't tell the difference, can you?
I can tell the difference in the way the gun swings a little bit,
But
Yeah.
not the sight radius.
but not really the sight radius, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That when you're talking about 4.5 or 5.5 inch sight radiuses, I think they're all close enough to where that's not really the key factor. It's more the other properties of the gun, the total weight, and how the weight is distributed on that gun that change the way it handles, and it's your personal preference will play into which one is best for you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's a weight thing. I can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference between a 4.5 and a 5-inch gun in terms of sight radius. I can a little bit tell between 4 and 5 in terms of sight radius. Definitely in terms of weight, but sight radius, I can't tell. Or the other way. Whatever. I'm a moron. Well, gentlemen, another bang up podcast, huh?
Yes.
Fantastic. Great job. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like the answer to, go to benseger.com, send me your question. We'd love to hear from you. We'll, answer it to the best of our meager abilities and send you the answer. So, yeah, go over there, hit us.